We're sassholes on the road, yeah.
We're sassholes on the road, yeah.
We're sassholes on the road.
Pressing record. See the line. We got these super filled teacups. Damn.
Yeah, I had to sip some of mine. We're trying to get rid of some water that's in this water bottle that's taking up a lot of space. So
Because we bought water because the water filter went out and then I fixed it. And we didn't even need to use the water that we bought. So
Yeah.
now we had all this water.
Good job, Bianca. Also,
If you watch us on YouTube, you can see I'm struggling a little bit.
a lot of it.
Sit down.
If you watch us on YouTube, you can. Your foot is cold. You can also see that finally the weather is cool enough for me to wear my robe. I am in fact wearing clothes underneath this, just in case you're
Or
wondering.
is she?
Whoopah!
Ah! Watch the virtual podcast if you wanted to see her Wapa reveal.
Wearing my classic athletic tank with athletic shorts and these nice dino socks that my mom gave
That
to
is
me.
quite a move that you're doing right now. Well, I'm Bianca,
I'm Katy.
and we're sassholes on the road.
We are, and it feels weird that there's only two of us.
It's the first one that there's only two, so you're waiting for the third
Yeah.
name, and it wasn't coming.
No, it wasn't. It feels like more responsibility to have to banter between the two of us instead of three. It's
To
only
be
usually
fair,
three.
Kayla didn't do a lot of talking.
Yeah.
So now
I relied on her for that.
I know. I would kind of blankly be like, oh, I don't have to fill up the time. Because Kayla will rant for at least a good 5 minutes.
Well, next time she's here, we'll get to have her on, and then it'll be nice.
So this week we're talking about campsite
Drama.
because I think it's been in the past week alone, every night has been something very strange.
I mean, to be fair, we stay in kind of random places, but our actual campsite that we stayed at and we paid for, I was expecting no drama because it's an actual
even
campsite.
that place had drama.
That was the most drama, probably.
I mean, I guess you assume if you're in van life and you have to park in random spots, just wherever they allow you to park, you're gonna get some weird stuff. But this is like literally every night, even starting the night after we filmed, we recorded the last podcast, and it was sad because we recorded the van tour where we talked about our shower tent, and I was so excited about it, and I loved it, and I had used it that night because, warning, female menstruation being mentioned, but it helps me because I usually shower in a bathing suit. So whenever I'm on my period, it's nice to take a discreet naked shower. And so I was taking my discreet naked shower in the parking lot that's empty, and I loved it to that point. And then there was some guys that pulled up, and I didn't actually think anything of it. Kayla was the one that was like, "Oh, they're gonna steal that Subaru."
Yeah, because Bianca was getting ready for her shower, and the tent thing, if you're not able to think about what it might be, it's this tall, it's specifically made for changing or for showering. It's like a tall,
They
skinny.
call it a poot tent because you take it camping, and it's a discreet way to set it up, and you just dig a hole. You don't it doesn't come with a toilet. You dig a hole, and it's just so that people don't see you, and you can just dig a hole in the ground and put this tent over you.
Yeah.
And discreetly poop. But people use it to also shower and change, and it's it's quite a bit taller than you, and it has a little hole to put a shower thing in it. And it's just like this cylinder that you just pop into.
Yeah. But we had been staying at this not rest stop, this parking ride
Parking
thing.
ride, which is when you park a car and the airport picks you up and drops you off at the airport, and you don't have to pay for airport parking.
But it looked like
I haven't been using a while, and there's a reason.
And there's a lot of garbage there. To be fair, it seemed like it was getting more garbage as time was going on. And so this particular night, I can change it. This particular night, sorry guys, I'm getting in trouble because I didn't.
Because it hears it.
Yeah, it hears it. No vibrate on silent. This particular night, Bianca was getting ready for her shower, and Kayla was hanging out right here. And then
where's right here?
right here, if you're not watching the video, hello, on the part of our L couch that is like right in front of our sliding door, so you can see out, because we usually keep the sliding door open. So there are these two, it was two guys, right?
Yeah, it's two guys.
And one of them came over and like asked, he was riding around on a bicycle,
he
wasn't
came up to me while I was setting up my tent, and he was like, "Is that your Subaru over there?" I was like, "No, obviously it's not my Subaru." And I was like, "No, I don't know." I was like, "No," and he's like, "Do you know whose Subaru it is?" And I was like, "What? No, I don't keep track of whose cars are here." And then he drove away. And then 2 seconds later, his other friend came by and was like, "Do y'all have a Phillips head we can borrow?" And I was like, "They're doing something sketchy. We do have Phillips head, but no, I'm just kidding, because they're doing something sketchy."
Then we were talking about how it was good that they asked Bianca instead of me, because I would have been like, "Well, yeah, here's our Phillips head,"
which they probably would have taken.
Yeah.
Because I ended up showering, and then I left the tent. I usually leave the tent out to dry, and we've done this multiple times, and it's never been a problem, because who wants to steal a poo tent? Nobody wants to steal a poo tent. And I joked. I was like, "Those guys are being sketchy. I hope this is here tomorrow." The next morning, I get out to go put it back in the bag, and it's gone.
Yeah.
They stole our poo tent.
But the Subaru was still there. So we figured that because while Kayla was sitting here, she was watching them like do something to the car. She was like, "I think they're trying to steal that car." They were not successful in stealing the car, so I guess that they had to steal the tent as a consolation prize. But
it was super ridiculous. So my beautiful tent that I just got excited about in the van tour got stolen. And so then the next night we stayed in the parking lot, and Katy apparently waking up at 3 a.m. like she does.
Well, I hadn't gone to bed yet. I was having a weird night, and so I heard what sounded like something slapping on something. So I peeked out the window and I saw this guy just moseying along down the sidewalk with this giant metal pole in his hand. I was like, "Oh, what the heck?
Is he gonna beat our van?"
Right? So I'm watching him, because I watched him hit a tree with it, and I was like, okay, he's just in a mood to hit things. Also, it's the middle of the night, and he's clearly on something. I don't know what's happening. So I watched him until I couldn't see him out this window. And then I heard him out here, so I like peeked my head through our front curtain, and I was watching him, and he was like doing like karate moves and like twirling the pole around like a rifle in color guard, or like a flag. He's or
doing
whatever.
His 3 a.m. Stuntman routine in the parking lot.
It was very interesting. And then he would go between that and then like playing golf with the abundance of trash that was on the ground. He was like hitting the trash with the pole, and so I just watched him for a while because I was worried he was going to come try to hit our car, because I don't know, it seemed like it would be something exciting. If you're in the mood for like whacking things with a stick, you
whack that white van that's already basically beat up.
Yeah. But he didn't come over, so then I went to sleep. And
well, it was like, okay, we had 2 nights of weird nights, and then we drove to a different town. We're in a different town. It's a tourist town. It's a mountain town. And then we couldn't figure out a place to stay for free, and so we rented a campsite that was next to the trailhead that we were going to go to the next morning. And we were sitting there. Katy was in her hammock reading, and I was sitting at the picnic table just jotting down some stuff. And this guy who we'd seen earlier just comes moseying into to our camp area and just sits down at the picnic table with me and like makes himself comfortable.
Which is really weird. You don't do that.
Yeah, he was just like, "Hey, how are you?" And I was like, "Oh, good. But also, why are you sitting at my picnic table?" And he was like, "What's your name?" And I was like, "Oh no." Like this is how I die. This guy is gonna kill me. And then Katy,
and we don't have phone service.
Yeah, but there's no service. It's in the middle of nowhere. There's only like 5 campsites altogether, and there were only a few other people. There was a girl staying like literally right next to us. She could see us and watch. She was watching the whole thing.
And she had a dog.
And she had a dog, and it was barking at him the entire time. And so I think that's why he didn't like bother me, because Katy came over and pretended like she was helping me with my journaling. And the thing that I was like, this is how we're gonna die the most, was when he was like, "Have you ever seen someone in real life beat the shit out of somebody?" And we were like,
It was so.
That is, like, out of nowhere. We weren't even talking to him. After a while, we even stopped. We were giving him one-word answers, and then we stopped even answering him. And he just said that, and we were like, okay, this is how I die. Is it because one of us is going to have to watch you beat the shit out of the other one?
Yeah.
Is that why you're asking? Because we're about to have to experience, and you're wondering if we've done it before?
Whoever hasn't experienced it yet needs to experience it.
And so then he just, like, we stopped listening to him and talking to him, and then he, like, just went away. And then later, I'm sitting there, and this girl who I'd seen earlier there with 2 kids came, like her, I noticed her car, and she, like, pulled in and stopped at her campsite. And she came out, like, freaked out. Apparently, he had, like, gotten on top of her picnic table and was, like, kicking things and asking her for food. And whenever she, like, got scared, because apparently she was there with her niece and her nephew, and I think, like, her brother their dad was gonna meet them, and they were all gonna camp together. And so she literally left all her stuff at, like, she had set up her tent, like, their chairs, their cooking stuff. She just left it all. And she put
Their camp stove was out.
Yeah, everything was just out, and she just put the kids in the car and, like, jumped in the car and started driving away. And she said that he was, like, hitting her car and laughing, and I was like, okay, this dude is super drunk.
Yeah.
And I was like, even if this dude is super drunk, there's no reason to be harassing people. It's like one thing to be awkwardly talking to people that don't want to talk to you, but it's another thing to harass people. And then apparently he scared, like, 2 other couples away, because there had been 2 other campsites, and he scared them away because their campsites were empty later that night when me and Katie went to go fill our water bladders for the hike the next day. And so then this Italian couple had come to the campsite
on a motorcycle
that recently, a couple before that, had left, because at this point 3 campsites where the people had all left. And this Italian couple replaced one of the campsites, and he was harassing them and doing the same thing and standing on their table and asking them for food. And it was really late at night, so they were like, we're gonna sleep here, but this guy's being dangerous and weird and harassing us, and it's annoying.
Yeah, so that guy came up. What did he say his name was? Gino came over and was talking to the girl that had the dog and was like, what's up with this guy? He's the worst. And then we were all just talking about him. He was like, all the spots were filled at that point, and some guy had, like, driven through trying to find a spot, and then he hadn't found a spot because they were full. So Gino had told that guy to call somebody when he got out to service and tell them about the sketchy dude. And then when we were at our bladders, Gino came over, or when we were at the water thing to fill our bladders, Gino came over and he was like, that guy was the worst. I hope you guys feel better because I got someone to call somebody. Like, I know karate. So
he was like, just call me. He was like, just call my name. My name is Gino. He was like, I'm practiced black belt in karate.
Yeah.
And he's like, and I can protect you. Just call me. And we were just like, okay, we're just going to be in our tent and we're going to lock it. And I doubt that he's super drunk, and he was having trouble putting up his tent, so I was like, I don't think he's getting into our locked tent.
Yeah, you got to see him. Did you, like, go for a stroll and you saw him?
Yeah, because I was wondering where he was camping. Like, I was wondering how close he was to us mostly.
Y'all, he had the best view, apparently.
He had the best campsite. And it was funny because the girl that was next to us did the same thing I did, but walked her dog and was like, I think she also was checking out where he was, and, like, me and her met up when I was doing the same thing. And she was like, yeah, the dude's super drunk, but he's so chill and cool. And I was like, this dude's been harassing people out of their campsites. I don't think he's chill and cool.
She didn't know. Or she wasn't paying attention.
I also think since she had her dog, he wasn't harassing her and probably being as aggressive as he had been with everybody else.
Yeah.
Because she had a dog.
That's true.
But yeah, so we ended up not going on that hike the next morning. Because we were too exhausted. Tired. So we took a slow day, and then we did the hike the next day. But we ended up finding out from a really hot pool guy attendant that there was actually a parking lot in town that he was like, yeah, you're allowed to stay there. And then we read the sign, and they specifically said on the sign that you were allowed to camp there. And I was like, that's really awesome.
Yeah.
He was like, how did we not know this before?
Yeah, I got pranked by Overlander. The one other sketchy camp experience that we had that I can think of is that we stayed at, like, the trailhead for this one hike, and it had this ginormous paved parking lot, and over the course of the evening, like, 3 different cars came and started doing donuts just, like, all around half of the parking lot, and they were like,
because it was really empty and quiet, and there was another girl with the van and with her dog. And then, like, after 30 minutes of being there, we heard all these noises. And these people were doing, like, having donut competitions with each other. There was, like, 3 cars, like, beat-up sports cars. Like, they looked like they had been nice cars, but they had gone through some shit.
They were missing parts.
Yeah.
All of them were missing some part.
But they were just doing donuts for literally hours. And I think the other girl, her dog, was acting up because she, like, angrily came out at one point and, like, slammed her doors and then got in her driver's seat and drove away.
Yeah. And then she was there the next morning in a different spot.
Oh, was she?
Yeah. I guess she came back late or came back early. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But they, like, also had brought orange cones and were, like...
That blocked off that area where they're doing donuts.
So at least they care about safety.
I guess that's what it was. But they also, like, made, like, an obstacle course for them. And I was wondering, but then we found out it was a very big thing to do all kinds of motor vehicles. Donuts, come in at 10 p.m. with your lighted four-wheelers and go for a nice late-night four-wheeling. I don't know.
They had, like, rainbow lights all over.
Yeah, they had rainbow lights, and they had, like, a giant speaker, and they're blasting music. And I was like, who goes four-wheeling at 10 p.m. in the woods? These people.
It does seem scary.
Even with the lights, it seems kind of dangerous. And then... like, there were all these motocross bikes, and the next morning, there were literally gangs of, there were, like, dozens and dozens of motocross bikes. And I was like, I didn't know that we chose the motocart trailhead.
Yeah. It made sense, because like, looking back, it makes sense, because there was a sign that said something about motorized vehicles, and we were both like, why are you saying something about motorized vehicles on this trailhead? And then we were like, oh, okay, because apparently this is where all the motorized vehicles come to go on this trail. It was also like a 20-mile trail, so maybe that...
Yeah, it wasn't like a trail. I think it was just like dirt. It was dirt road, basically, that just went through the woods and stuff, so it's perfect for your motor,
fancy motorbike or four-wheeler.
Motor vehicle needs.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was just crazy because it was literally back to back. I think the donut thing happened a couple of days before all the other stuff, but all the other stuff was literally back to back to each other. And we were like, why do we keep getting... we had a streak of just, like, no, like, quiet, like, no interactions. We would stay at places with other vans and, wave and say hi, but, like, no interactions. And then we were getting all these, like, weird... aggressive interactions and like theft and drunks and harassment all back to back.
It's very interesting. Then last night, so basically every weekend we have kind of been coming back to the Seattle area and then like going out to different parts of Washington.
Like we come, since Seattle's like right in the middle and there's like the lake, so you have to go around to go to the top of Olympic National Park, and then you have to go back through Seattle anyway to get to
the other places.
We went to Leavenworth, and then we're going to go to the Cascades, and so you still have to come through Seattle each time to go back. And then when we leave and we go down to Mount Rainier, we had to come through Seattle again. So it's just the way Washington's set up. You always had to come back through Seattle, and we have to do work at least once or twice a week anyway. And so we just come to Seattle, and we come to our same parking lot.
Our same sketchy parking lot.
Sketchy, trashy parking lot. Go to the same coffee shop with the sweet old lady and her husband who basically work it all the time. And
we love that place.
Yeah, her daughter and I think a friend. I don't know if they're both her daughters or their friend, but it's very family owned and everything's super delicious. And I feel like we live there.
Yeah, we were joking around today. Like, we feel like we live in Renton. Maybe we'll just live here in the future.
I know. I was like, you know what? Half of me was hoping that this van trip would reveal a new home for me, because for the longest time I wanted to find a home outside of New York, but I didn't know where it was. And I was like, Renton, Washington, maybe that's where it is.
Seems like a cool place. There are lots of fun things to do. Also lots of sketchy people, but that's how any city's gonna be.
I was like, that's every city, to be honest.
Yeah.
But we did, speaking of encounters with people, we went to a local hardware store yesterday, and we fell in love with it. Like, we have grief with hardware stores, and we fell in love.
We've been to our fair share of hardware stores.
Yes. But I fell in love with this hardware store. The cashier was great. Everyone was super fun. The music was on point.
They were playing great music.
And we were getting really frustrated because we're trying to fill up the water tank, because the last time we didn't fill it up and we let it get too low, because it wasn't empty, but the last time we let it get too low is when it broke and I had to fix it, because it sucks in air bubbles. If you don't keep it filled, it'll suck in the air bubble if you let it get empty, and it messes up the water pump, and then you have to like take it apart and fix it, and sometimes
it's so annoying.
Sometimes it can mess it up. So
and avoidable.
Yeah. So it wasn't like low empty, but it was getting low to the point that we probably should fill it up, but there was nowhere near that had available free water. So we were getting frustrated looking for spigots, and we even went to like a motel that had a thing, and the guy was like, no, you can't use it. But he was like, I'm just afraid my boss will see you on the security cameras and I'll get in trouble. And I was like, that's fine, but can you just tell him we charge me for water? I was like, I'll pay for it. And he was like, no, I don't want to get in trouble. And so it was just really frustrating because we were just driving around we had already been running a lot of errands and spent the whole day fixing a bunch of stuff that had broken in the van, because, you know, van life. Mm-hmm. Every few weeks you had to fix some broken something.
And this past week we drove over a pretty wild dirt road that was like super earthquake-esque. So we had quite a few things.
But yeah, so
McClendon's
had a random water spigot, not like near the store. It was like in the middle of like one of those little like islands, you know, like they have like trees in the parking lots, and it was like one of those little islands that, you know, wouldn't seem sketchy. We pulled up to and used, and I was like, this is weirdly convenient. Yeah. McClendon providing yet again.
It was fantastic. We enjoyed our experience inside the store, and we enjoyed our experience outside the store as well.
It was lovely. It's been a lovely time.
We did have to buy the piece. We found a place where we could fill up, but then we were missing a piece because of a whole other thing that happened at a different point in time. And so we had to go back to McClendon's a second time, because we'd already been there once today. Go back to McClendon's, buy this piece, and then that's when we just happened to see.
Yeah, and then when we bought the piece, we went back to the same cashier lady, and she was like, oh, they're back again. And I was like, already a regular.
Another reason to move to Renton.
They already know me here.
Just go to McClendon's all the time. Like, I don't really need anything else, but I like it here.
I just love to walk around and listen to y'all's music and enjoy the vibe.
It was just really cozy in there. They like had decorations up, and the ceilings weren't as high. I feel like that makes a big difference. The ceilings in like Home Depot and Lowe's are really high, and it just feels like
you're in a cold warehouse.
Yeah,
with no
empathy.
There you go. Wow, sorry, Lowe's and Home Depot.
We appreciate you. We just went there too many times. But yeah, McClendon's was nice.
Yeah, no, so far the traveling has been great. We have not properly done our research with hikes sometimes, and one hike that we did that I had just walked by when we did a short 1 mile hike, and I was like, we should do that hike. But we didn't know the name, and we tried looking it up on All Trails, but it was named differently on All Trails than what the sign had said. And so we were like, oh, well, it says it's like 5 miles. It has a 2,000. For some reason, we didn't think about the fact how sketchy it was to have a 2,000 elevation gain in 5 miles.
5 miles total. So that's like round trip. Yeah. It's 5 miles.
So you were doing 2,000 elevation gain in 2.5 miles, which, to give you clarification, we had done a 9 mile hike that was 3,000 elevation gain, but it was a 9 mile hike. So it took, no, I think it was longer actually.
I think it was longer.
No, it was longer. It was 13 miles.
Yeah.
It was 13 miles hike, because it was almost 7 there and back. So it was 6.5 miles to get 3,000. And this hike was saying that in 2.5 miles, you were going to get a little over 2,000.
And we were exhausted.
We didn't think anything about it.
Yeah. We're just like, 5 miles.
Yeah, we didn't do it. The whole thing was literally just incline.
Yeah.
It was called Storm King, and that's because you're literally just storming every muscle in your body.
Yeah. It was literally just like super steep switchbacks the entire time until you get to the top, and then you're like pulling yourself up these ropes and scrambling over rocks to get to the top.
Yeah, like you get to the top and it says end of trail, and I got excited. But then like we rounded the corner and it was end of trail, 8 ropes that you have to climb up a steep. The last, you know how, I don't know if you've ever been on a hike, but the last bit is always the steepest. But this was so steep, and it literally, you can't walk. You had to like basically rock climb.
Yeah, my arms were sore the next day.
They had like a pile of community gloves. It was kind of gross.
It was really gross.
Sorry, COVID.
Right.
but they're like wet because so many people, because this is a highly trafficked hike, and
hot.
It's hot, and you're really, by that point, you have been sweating for a while. And so by that point, me and Katie both, we later found out, because we said nothing to each other, but we later found out that we both were like, I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah. I don't want to finish this. This is hard. We were both nauseous.
Which never happens to us.
We were so, because it was so exhausting and it was so hot, and we were so nauseous from how tiring it was. But neither of us said anything. By the time we were like, yeah, I wanted to turn back like so many times, and I didn't care about giving up. But we both had said, if Bianca stops,
yeah, like internally,
I'll stop.
I'm like, if Bianca stops, I'll stop.
And I was like, if Katie stops, I'll stop. And then so neither of us were gonna stop unless the other one stopped. Yeah. So it just created a chain reaction. We
just kept telling each other like, oh, I feel really nauseated. But that's all we were saying. We weren't like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, basically it was just like, okay, yeah, the other one would be like, oh yeah, we'll give a little extra longer on this break. And basically what we wanted was, oh yeah, this is turn around because this is fucking hard.
Yeah.
And then we get to the top and we see these ropes, and it scares the poo out of me, because people are literally like sliding down when like the going up, I think, isn't the bad worst part, and like everybody was like, don't look to the side or you'll psych yourself out and scare yourself. And I was like, what the? Everybody's like, don't
like a sheer cliff. Yeah.
It's like literally a cliff, and you look to the side, you'll see how far up you are, and you'll actually, like, when you're on the ropes, you can't feel the incline, but if you look to the side, you'll see how steep the incline is. Yeah. And it scares you and psychs you out.
And it was completely dirt, so it was hard. It wasn't
there was no
grippy.
Grip. It was literally, there were like knots in the rope so you could hold on to, and you were just like, your body against the rock and holding the knots was what was keeping you from falling down.
Yeah.
And there were like 8 ones, so there's like 2, and there was like a little, flat area, and then there'd be another rope to the next flat area, and another rope, and there was 8 of them. And then you get to the very top, and you're literally on this like narrow tip of a rock, which is what the top was. Usually when you get to the top, there's so much room, but literally it was just like a tip of a rock, and everybody was just like shuffling around each other.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't like this.
But it was beautiful up there.
But it was amazing, and I almost didn't do it, because like looking at it, I was like, okay, I think I can do it. And so then I like grab the rope, and Katie starts filming me, and I'm just like, literally, like, as you grab the rope and like you get into position, you realize like what position, how steep it is, and the incline, and I literally put it down, and I'm like, I don't want to do it. It scares me.
And I was like, well, I'm gonna go.
So then like Katie is like up rope 1, and I'm just like sitting there staring, and I was just like debating. I was like, am I just gonna wait for her to be done? And this like a 40-year-old lady and her 40-year-old husband come down, and she's like talking, and she wasn't even talking to me. She was talking to people behind us, because they had asked, and there she was like, it's really hard, but it's very I don't remember exactly what she said, but for some reason she was making, but the funny thing is I had to ask Katie what it looked like, because she was already up rope 1, and she was explaining it to me, but at the same time this lady started saying it in such a beautiful way that I stopped listening to Katie, and Katie kept trying to say it.
I could tell it because she wasn't responding to what I was saying. To be clear, I was not being very descriptive. I was like, well, it's like not as steep as the part you're looking at, but it's like all dirt.
Yeah, she was being the worst at convincing someone who was scared to do something to do something.
And so I would say that, and then I was like, so how does that sound? No response. So then I would say the same thing over. So how does that sound? No response. I asked like 5 or 6 times, and then Bianca was like, okay, I'm coming up. And she was like, that lady said the most beautiful things.
I wish I would have remembered it, because the way she was explaining it, she was like, like any mom, like convincing you to do something challenging that scares you to do it. And she was just like, it's completely doable. Don't get me wrong, it's hard. But here's the thing, it looks harder than it is, but it is still a challenge. And I was like, okay, so it looks harder than it is, but it's not as bad as what it looks, but it is hard.
But it's still hard.
Yeah. Like, I don't know why, but the way she said it and the way she was just talking, I was like, okay, I can do this. And so I got up there, and it was great. And actually, I had fun going down. I was scared of going down because everyone was talking about how slippery the rocks were, because it's easier to get your grip when you're going up. But when you're going down, you're literally just like sliding down from rope knot to rope knot.
Yeah.
And so I was a little scared, but it was actually kind of fun going down.
And there was a nice... He was really, really scared, so I feel bad for him, but it was nice that he was in front of us because he was going so slow.
So it gave us a time to recover and, like,
yeah,
make us feel like we weren't going that slow because he was going so slow.
Yeah.
But he had to have a severe fear of heights because he was very scared. He was going so slow. And if anything, I wasn't even annoyed. I was impressed that he actually did it because I almost didn't do it, and I don't even have a fear of heights. It was just like, it was such a steep incline.
Yeah.
I was so tired.
Yeah. We did, so that cliff, fantastic view at the end of that hike. But we did figure out that we prefer hikes that you, like, hike out to some sort of body of water.
Yeah.
And then, like, you hike back, but...
Because you can cool down in the bottom. Like, I get really hot. Like, I wear hiking boots because they have better grip, and I don't evenly distribute my weight when I walk. So I, like, teeter when I walk, and so then, like, I roll my ankles. And so I bought hiking boots that help me from not rolling my ankles and help me when I'm teetering back and forth to catch myself and you get better grip on the ground.
She scares me all the time.
Because I just teeter, but my hiking boots have such a grip, and the tallness help with my ankles, and the grip helps whenever I fall all the time. So I don't actually fall. And so, like, I get really hot, so it's nice when we go to, like, creeks. I always take my shoe off and, like, cool down my feet, and it helps me hike better, actually, because my feet aren't so hot. I'm not so tired.
Mm-hmm.
But this was a hot-ass hike. It took us 10 times longer than we expected it.
No body of water.
No body of water.
I mean, we got to look at a body of water, but it was very far away.
Very far away. And we were at the top of a rock, even closer to the sun, and I was already nauseous from how exhausting this hike was. And just being there in the sun was making me even more nauseous, and I was hot. And then the way down, you can imagine such a steep hike. It's just, my knees were literally shaking. Like, anytime we stopped, my knees couldn't even, like, be straight. Like, my legs were shaking, and so I couldn't even enjoy, like, the stops because my knees would be shaking.
And we both fell at least once. I think maybe
down the ropes.
On the way down.
Yeah.
Well, not even the ropes, just like the actual, like, the switchbacks, because they were so steep.
Yeah,
also.
So steep. And they were really rough on the knees. So. But yeah.
But Storm King, so to be clear, in case you didn't understand, that was a miserable hike.
But I felt accomplished. Like, the ropes, the steepness, like, everything, I felt super accomplished.
Yeah. So then it was really nice because we went on a hike. Was it 2 days ago? It was more than that.
I don't remember.
This past week, we went on another hike.
That was a few days after that hike.
Yeah. And
that was the same elevation.
Yeah.
And twice as long.
Yeah. And so we were both just like, this is a fantastic hike. This might be one of our favorite hikes.
Like, all the reviews are like, it's difficult, it's so steep, like, it gets really hard at the end, which, don't get me wrong, like we said, like, every hike, the last mile is so steep all the time. But it felt easy after doing Storm King. So I was like, man, I appreciate Storm King, because I felt like this hike would have felt really hard if we hadn't done Storm King.
Yeah.
But it felt easy because we did Storm King.
Yeah. And then guess what? There was a body of water that we were hiking to.
And we swam in it, and it was beautiful.
It was freaking cold.
It was.
But how many laps
Katy
did you do?
cannonballed in, and I just gradually got in, and then did like 10 laps.
Yeah, I cannonballed, and then I stood there for a little while, and then I exited quickly.
But if you watch our YouTube video, which came out yesterday, about our first backpacking trip and our experiences hiking in Grinnell Glacier the Grinnell Glacier hike and Glacier National Park and all the other hikes we did, Katy jumped in the Grinnell Glacier water and literally was freezing for an hour because she couldn't get warm.
I couldn't get warm. To be fair, I probably shouldn't have gone in with all my clothes on, because everyone else was like getting down to like swimsuits or their underwear or whatever, but I was just like, it's cold, I don't want to take my clothes off.
It was really weird up there because the sun was beating down, so it was really hot, but the wind, because we were up there so high, I think it's like an 8,000, it's like you're up an 8,000 foot elevation, I think is what it was, and it's really cold. So, like, the wind, you're, like, sweating and hot, but then the wind blows and you get really cold. And so it's just a really confusing feeling. So I can imagine when you jump
Yeah.
into that literally below freezing temperature water, and then come out and you're cold, your like body and your blood and your bones are cold, and then you have wet clothes, and then that cold breeze comes by, and like literally nothing's warming you.
Yeah, I think Kayla and Bianca like hung around up there for a while and took pictures or whatever, and I was like, I'm sorry guys, I have to go because I need to move.
Because this cool breeze
so cold.
is not doing it for me.
But then I did warm up. But ever since then, I've been a little finicky. Well, I'm already finicky about cold water.
But yeah, she almost didn't get into the lake. It was a beautiful lake, and literally everybody was swimming. Like, nobody was getting into the Grinnell Glacier. Like, people were doing it, like, as a joke, as a dare.
Yeah.
But, like, everybody was swimming at this lake. Like, it was cold, but, like I said, it did laps. I mean, once you get in, your body adjusts to it, and it's fine. But it is a little bit cold, because it is glacier water. Yeah. And so, that's the reason it's beautiful turquoise. But Katie was like, oh, I don't want to. And I was like, you can freaking jump into a glacier lake, but you can't jump into this lake, which is I think it's an alpine lake, so it's not as cold as a glacier lake.
Yeah.
Because it's the glacier runoff, I think. Grinnell Glacier Lake, that lake was literally a melted glacier. And then, like, the alpine
the floating
lakes,
icebergs. Yeah. Just to be clear.
with icebergs still in it that hadn't melted all the way. And then, like, the one that we did was, like, just runoff water. So it warms up as it goes down the mountain. So it's cold, but it's not as cold. And she was like, I don't want to get in. It's going to be cold. And I was...
Bianca was like, look, we'll at least put our feet in. We should just put our swimsuits on before we do that. It'll make it easier. And I was like, okay, I know what's happening. But
I didn't tell her to cannonball. There were some teenagers there, and they were cannonballing in, and Katie was like, I'm gonna do what they do, and I'm gonna go cannonball in, and I was like, okay, but then it sounds aggressive.
It's easier for me to just jump all the way in. I think that, that's why I had to just roll into the glacier river, because I was like, I can't just walk.
If you want to see great footage of her rolling into the glacier, I have it on the backpacking video, so go watch it on our YouTube channel, and also watch last week's virtual podcast with Someone Leaves a Van with Kayla. So by this point, you should know that Kayla left the van, and so if you want to watch the actual video of us talking about it, that's really fun.
Yeah.
And I don't know what else was. Oh, Katie is putting together a Patreon account if you want to talk about that.
Oh, yeah. So, if you are familiar with Patreon, we're getting a Patreon. If you're not familiar with Patreon, it is a website where creators can put out, like, additional exclusive content. And it's kind of like a subscription thing, so you can sign up for a different amount tiers. So, like, you could pay $5 a month and have access to, like, a certain amount of additional content, or like $10 a month, $20 a month. It just depends on the creators. They have, like, different amount levels, amount numbers, and then each level, like, the more you pay, the more stuff you have access to.
Right now we're sending out postcards to our subscribers as a celebration for the 1,000 streams we got this last week. Woo! But, like, if you sign up maybe for, like, the $5 tier, you get a postcard every month, or
something like that. And there will be, like footage that we don't include in our videos on YouTube of, like, the build, or us being silly just in everyday life, or, like, embarrassing things that happen, or random thoughts that we have on the road. And then, like, higher levels might have, like, guest appearances on podcasts, maybe. Or, like, they get to ask questions or something that we answer on the pod, or something like that. Or they get to say, like, this is what I would like for the amount of money that I'm paying. And we can be like, yes, that's awesome. Or, you know what? No. But here's a happy, like, medium that we can land on.
So I don't know when we're actually launching that. We're launching that soon. Katie's working on that. She sent, if you are on our subscribers list, I hope you got the newsletter, our second newsletter.
Our second newsletter. The first one went out in April. They were supposed to be monthly newsletters. It is August. The end of August.
So she sent that out a few days ago on Saturday. So if you would like a newsletter that's supposed to be monthly, but maybe every 4 months, You can subscribe, but also we are sending out new stickers soon to our subscriber list. So get on it. Go to sassholesontheroad.com. Join, and at the very top it asks to join the email list. Go join the email list. Also, you get one free question of anything you want to know on there. So ask a free question on there and give us your information if you like. If you like to get stickers and postcards and newsletters from time to time. We really don't spam you because, as you know, we don't have time and we're not on the ball. So we won't send you spam.
Sorry. Or not sorry.
I don't know which one to do.
Yeah.
Just say it is. But yeah, follow us on all our accounts. You know, the same spiel. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Sassholes on the Road. All the same. If you haven't checked it out yet, go to sassholesontheroad.com. I revamped the page and it looks really nice.
Yeah, she and Kayla made a new logo too, which is what the sticker is going to be.
Yeah, so we made a new logo, which is what all our new icons on if you follow our Instagrams and Facebooks, they're on there. And you can get that sticker soon if you subscribe. We're sending it to our subscribers in a month or so because we have to get them made. And yeah.
And you know that we're slow.
But yeah, thanks for following us. We're going to the Cascades next, and we have some exciting new adventures and things lined up.
Yeah.
So keep following. I don't know what we're talking about next week, to be honest.
We'll figure it out.
But it'll be exciting. We've enjoyed life on the road so far, and we've definitely have a lot of stories that we can't remember.
Yeah. We've adapted. We're still adapting, but I feel like we've adapted well so far. Maybe we can talk about that at some point, like things that we've been adapting to. I don't know if that's boring or not.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
But we'll be back next week. We'll let you know what it's about. I don't know.
Yeah.
But for now,
we're
all over the place. So I'm Bianca.
I'm Katy. This is me framing my leg.
We're Sassholes on the Road.
We're Sassholes on the Road.
Bye.